But I'm now starting to see that I can afford to buy a property. I'm getting people coming up and offering me mortgages. And I'm like, no, man, but I'm not married. I don't have anyone around. Why should I want to buy a property? The mindset of where we were or where I was. Everybody else was always thinking of that security, but it was always very centered on self. It wasn't waiting for a period of time to achieve anything. So I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. You know what? If I can get a property, I will get a property. If I can do this, I will do that. And just seeing that I could do it, a lot of the times we wait for so many things to fall into place before we actually do it. And I think, a lot of the times the people that are more affected are women, sadly. Coming back to Zimbabwe, what I was seeing was very different. Is from 2001, when I was still in Australia, we were getting letters in the mail with the government saying, convert so many things within your home so that you're more sustainable for solar, for gas, and all of these various things. And I'm seeing that even now in 2025, 24, it's not as ubiquitous as it should be. We should have all this other infrastructure in place that will make our lives easier. So there's a lot that we have to cover in terms of the gap. And 25 years is a long time,
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Moments with Nyengeterai. I'm so excited to have you back here, and first of all I just want to say thank you to the community. Thank you for your love, thank you for subscribing, for sharing, for the comments, and it's really funny going through the comments and just seeing what people are asking for and the kind of topics that you want. So I'm going to try and bring those people. And also, but thank you for the love above all else. Thank you for the love because, most of you are saying, the conversations are so wholesome and you're really enjoying them. So for that, thank you so much. So today I have another very exciting guest. She's an amazing woman with lots of titles. But truly, truly, truly amazing. Karen, welcome.
Thank you so much, Nyenga. So happy to be here.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited and I'm so glad we're doing this. I think we've been talking about this for a little bit and finally we're doing it.
We should have recorded all the pre-moments to this. That would have been a really good
I think so.
show.
We should actually... I always say that the conversations that we have while we're setting up are just the most fun conversations. But for those people who don't know you,
yes.
So who's Karen in a nutshell?
Oh, the nutshell. Let me just say the nutshell broke. But Karen, there's a bit of conventional woman, and then there's a bit of that crazy outlier kind of thing, is what I'd like to say. So right now I'm sort of restrained. I'm just kidding, but
don't restrain yourself. This place is free space.
Thank you so much, Karen. Happy-go-lucky kind of person. I think for the majority of the people who do know me or who actually get the time to get to know me, that dark sense of humor, that kind of person who's always your come, let's get going, pull her up instead of pull her down kind of syndrome. I am your greatest cheerleader. I am your biggest support. I am a person who will look for the bright side in life majority of the times. Trust me, it doesn't mean that I don't take any hard knocks. I get those. I get to my knees, I cry, I pray. And then tomorrow it's like, okay, cool, let's do it again. So that resilience, I think it has come from a huge experience, even if I'm looking at my earlier formative years, support that I had even then. So I think it's, in short, a person with an indomitable spirit, but a person who just loves life and loves to show other people how to get to love life and love themselves as well. Because out there, it's hectic.
It's hectic, right?
It is.
I love that about you. I mean, that's one of the things that really attracted me to you. Before I even knew you, when you're on stage singing, and I was like, oh, I like that woman. Not knowing who you were, and I was just like, I don't know what it was that I was drawn to. Maybe it was your energy, maybe I don't know what it was, but I just when I finally met you, true to form, you lived up to what I expected.
Oh, bless you. Yeah.
So Karen, talk to me about your childhood. How did you grow up? And how did the way you grew up kind of form the kind of woman that you have become?
Oh, okay. So when I was many, many years young, we're not turning our age today, but, I think it was more in like when I was looking at life in retrospect, and I was now starting to see, the blessings that I had. When you're younger, I think a lot of people rob themselves of their youth because of this whole thing of comparison. And you've got friends whose parents drive big cars and they go on like amazing holidays every single school holiday. They come back after a weekend, and even something as small now as going to South Africa. For me, that wasn't my life. My life was growing up in mining communities, mining towns. So it was always the small kind of community. It wasn't big city life. I knew more dust and gold than anything else.
Like me.
And I knew my family. I knew my Nyengi from down the road, and my Nyengi could discipline me. Like, don't even think anything about it. It was, everybody was raising the child within the community. But I think I also had a certain level of naivety, and I grew up with, I think, literally water dripping behind my ears. I was so wet behind my ears when I grew up, because I didn't see all the other things until I became an adult, and I didn't understand the human face until I became an adult. But the joys of when I was growing up, it was that camaraderie, that whole thing of my plate is our plate. We share, we play together, we talk together. As a person, my mom said I had moments where I would withdraw, and I think I needed that because it can be a bit much. And I still do that even now. My mom used to say that I would withdraw quite a lot of the times and I'd want my own personal time. But going to school, the kids that I was with in grade 1 to grade 7, we had gone to Peter Pan primary preschool together. We were together in primary school at Eiffel Flats, and majority of them all went to high school together. So we had become a family organically. Our lunch boxes were shared at break times and lunch times, and people used to just come into mine. It had boiled egg, rice, a little bit of like tomato soup or whatever you call it.
Leftover from last night.
You know how it is. And I used to be like, but Mama Muruku, so like when you open the lunchbox and like it smells.
Yes, I see the boiled egg smell. Oh my God.
I would be so embarrassed. But my lunchbox was always the first one to finish. And I would be running for the lunchboxes with my friends, which had like the little packets of knickknacks and the Mars bars and everything. So I asked some of my friends I think we were like about grade 6. And I'm like, guys, to this day, why is it my lunchbox finishes first? And they're like, well, because your mom makes it every single day. And I was like, what do you mean? And I thought about it. My mom every single morning, she woke me up, begrudgingly, I guess, but she woke me up every single morning to prepare me to go to school before I became a boarder. And she would fry whatever she would fry. She would boil the eggs. She would make the rice. She would put it together. And I took that for granted. I was like, no, man, I just want crisp. I just want to walk into the pantry and take the easy things. But that was her labor of love for me. And I thought about it, that after she's finished doing this, she then goes through for a full day of work. And then afterwards, she comes back again. And never a night did I never have a hot meal. Never a time did I ever have a time I had to look for my parents. My parents were always there. So growing up, I understood I had that as family. In terms of the importance of it, it was when I was now reflecting. And my friends were now telling me that this was a huge thing for them. They found my parents actually nurturing them. And I cannot stop to thank them actually enough for just that little thing. It seems so tiny, but it's really weighed upon my life quite heavily.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is, that's so impactful because, there was a time when I was like, when I was in corporate, there was a time when, because the kids were young, I had 2 maids and everything. Yeah. But one thing I used to do is every single day I would wake up extra early and then I'd make my kids lunchboxes. It was like, I'd write little notes inside. I don't know why. I just felt I needed to do this. That's the only thing I could, because most of the time I was away.
Yeah.
And now that you're saying that, I just feel so warm inside that, so it was worth it. Because sometimes I'd begrudgingly wake up, but I'm like, I will not have my maids do those lunchboxes. I'm going to do them myself,
I tell you, it means a lot. And, I think maybe at that particular point in time, we don't get it. We're just kids. But when you're now sitting there and you're thinking about it, you're like, this woman that I see who's always in all these many places. I mean, like for you, you're just like a dynamic, powerful woman. And I tell you, when your daughters are looking at it and they're like, this is what mom always used to, to do, it really means a lot. And it shapes how they also become. Because even for me now, I'll tell you, for the people that I care for, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. The people that are part of the circle, I would wake up. I will wake up in the middle of the night. I will wake up and do whatever. I will go out the extra hours and whatever, because that whole quality time or even acts of service, it means a lot. I realize just how other people want you to show up for them as well. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so amazing. So you went to high school and everything. Then what led you to leave the country?
Oh, I was very fortunate. In school, I was an average student. I like to say I was an average student, but the one that wasn't eating every single pot. I was in choir. I was in athletics. I was in hockey. Interact, Toastmasters. Hockey, volleyball, basketball. That sport refused me. I think I was like fourth team reserve or whatever, if ever there was a team such as that. But I was the one that just served the oranges. I didn't play. I still can't dribble. I still can't do a layup, but I will try. I did a lot. I was, I think, probably one of those ones that they say a very well-rounded student, but I wasn't a distinction student. Like, I mean, I'd pass my grades and everything, but it wasn't always top two. I was not challenging those really academic kids. And fortunately enough, the institution that I was at, I managed to be granted a full ride scholarship. And it was many a month speaking to my parents, the whole back and forth decision of what country are you going to go to, as well as the then very basic career advisement of you can be an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, and this and this and this.
So basic.
And it was very basic. And then eventually I chose what I wanted to do, and I also chose a country. But it was because of that scholarship. Even when I think about it, I think I probably would have gone to one of the local universities. But my first natural step, to be honest, I'd been accepted, I think it was PricewaterhouseCoopers, to do articles when I was going to be an article clerk. And I was ready to do that. And I think we'd gotten a position for me in Kwekwe. Still maintaining small towns for the comfort and everything. And then next thing I know, I'm in Australia, and that again is a whole different dynamic that opened a different part of me again, I guess, and showed me the world in a completely different light.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm just thinking, here you are, you're in a small town, grew up in small towns, in mining towns. I mean, I grew up in a mining town, so I know what mining towns are like. And then all of a sudden, you're in the big bad world, out there. You get to Australia, you're young. Tell me about that.
I was the first in my line, or I'll just say first in my family, to go out as far as that. I was 18 years old, and there's a lot of people who are doing that now. I mean, now it's probably more commonplace than it was at our time. So parents are not even thinking about it. It's just usually people by the time that they're in O level, they're like, oh, no, I want to go to the States, I want to go da 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 da. And kids are more well traveled. So, it's not so scary anymore.
Yeah,
but I tell you, when you're now thinking of the fact that this is going to be what defines what your life is, in a new country, you're going to become an adult in a completely different environment. And you're now starting to make those life choices: where you're going to live, what you're going to eat, how you're going to work, how you're going to balance work, life, study. It was a lot. And I only got to see it when I finally put feet on terra firma. And I was in Queensland, and I'm like 18 hours away. And I'm like, okay, so day one of many. It wasn't easy. Culture.
And you went on your own, no parents have by myself. That experience.
So it was something that was very difficult and very different. Like, of course, I've been a boarder, so I had a certain level of independence. I had a certain level of knowing how to manage my life. But it's different when you know, Kuti, there's nobody who's going to be there as your safety net. You know how it's like when we've got our family, our friends, even if something really goes wrong, someone is always going to take care of it, And there wasn't that. And you're making those decisions by yourself, and you really get this strange realization that, push comes to shove, I'm on my own. I was there for about 3 weeks. I'd been there for 3 weeks. We're still doing our orientation, and I felt unwell. And I just thought to myself, okay, you know what? I've got, that student medical aid. Let me get going. Let me go see the doctors and everything. And I went there, and the doctor had actually said to me at that point in time, look, we assume based on the bloods that we're testing, there seems to be something that's up there, but we'll need to do further tests. Let's send you through for a CAT scan. And I'm like, what's a CAT scan? They sent me through for that. And then when I got back, he says, yes, no, we're seeing shadows, but we need to send you to a specialist. And this is within 3 weeks. And Botanga, the course that I'd actually come in. This is within 3 weeks.
3 weeks of arriving.
Of actually arriving. And already I'm thinking, oh gosh, the bottom is like falling out. Anyway, he sent me through, and I spoke to this other lady, random. When I tell people, a lot of the times my life is a God story. A lot of people don't understand, but my life is a God story. I had been talking to this other lady in the dormitories when we were there, because we went in early. It was our week. There was a summer school program or something like that, and there was this lady I'd been talking to for many days, and we got to the point of talking. She had probably told me her name, but now I'd forgotten. What? But now we've been talking every single day.
Can't ask.
I can't ask her anymore. You know what I mean? Anyway, so when I come back from the doctor had told me this whole thing, that he had seen shadows in my brain, and I needed to get an MRI, and I also needed to book to see a neurosurgeon, and I'm only there 3 weeks, and I'm 18, and I'm by myself, and I've got a traveler's check of X amount of money, and I'm just like, the journey started off very well. Now what? So I went and I told her, and I'm crying, and she's like, okay, no, you know what? Let me just tell you something. We've been talking for, the past week, etc. I'm also a neurosurgeon. Random. I mean, we've been talking every single day. I'm also a neurosurgeon. And I'll tell you what makes your story even more relatable is the fact that I've also got something very similar, and this is my line of study. However, I may not be able to assist you because I'm in a completely different state. She was from New South Wales, and I was based in Queensland. But I will call my colleague, who was one of the more rated neurosurgeons in Australia. And I'd been already told by the doctors that it takes 6 months minimum to actually get an appointment to see a specialist.
And dear God,
this was a Friday evening. Monday morning, I'm on the bus and I'm going to see this neurosurgeon. But it's $750 an hour. I got to see this guy. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? All I'm doing is thinking about the mathematics of my ever decreasing bank account. And I'm like, it's taken such a huge sacrifice. And as an 18-year-old, you're looking at a life or death situation. How do I make this work? Anyway, I get there, and the doctor was also shocked. He's like, did you come by yourself? I was like, yes. Where did you come from? Zimbabwe. And he's like, how old are you? And I was like, 18.
Oh my word.
Anyway, so he swapped my appointment time because there was a family that was in there, and he sat down and he took time with me. We talked, and all I'm thinking of, it's 750 times
an hour.
And he's just talking. We haven't gotten to the diagnosis. We haven't gotten to anything. Then he says, you know what? Your CAT scan wasn't clear. You now need to go to an MRI. And I'm just like,
oh my word.
So he arranged for an MRI. I popped out of his office, and we got the results and everything, went back in. And he says, you know what? I need to call a colleague of mine who's also a specialist. My gut literally just kept dropping lower and lower and lower. But the two of those men saved my life. The two of those men started a lot of the chain reactions of what formed what I had never understood as faith and my belief. They waived the fee that they would charge. Every time that I'd go to see them, instead of it being $750 an hour, it would be $60 for the entire moment that I'd spend time with them, and $60 which I could claim back on medical aid. We would talk. They were like my fathers in a country where I had no family. As I was going through what I was going through and getting through the diagnosis, getting through the whole process of getting healed, until I was clear. But I tell you, those men to this day, they hold such a dear part in my home, in my heart. And I told my mom about it when I got back, and she's like, "But you didn't say, you know." And I'm like, "But what would you have done? What would you have done? You know?" So that was my first adult decision. That was my first adult step into things. Got back after that morning, and that lady was gone. I never saw her again. I never ever saw her again. That was my first, to me, that was my first encounter with an angel, direct. And yeah, so so many stories, Nyenga. I saw so many stories of what could have been.
Oh my word. Do you know one thing that, as you're talking, I'm just like thinking, oh my gosh, you're young, you're 18, you're in a new country and this is happening. And then these things are now going and they all these like happy, good things, angels just coming out. I want you to talk to me about your faith, from that time, how it was rooted and how it has been an anchor in your life throughout, and how you hold on to it now.
So I think we a lot of people actually take a cop out in that, I was born and raised in a Christian family, and we assume that, that is the it or end all. But salvation is a personal process. It's a journey that you have to take on your own. And though we've been pre-baptized or we've been, committed from an early age, it's something that you have to walk on your own. And a lot of the experiences that I went through at that time, the tests first and foremost, where things are not working. I mean, I think a lot of people are always like, my visa is not coming out. This is not happening. I didn't get that job. And sometimes it literally feels like your life is falling apart. And you actually have a choice. Do you carry on trying to put things together, or do you just accept that the castle has literally just fallen to pieces and you just leave it? I thank God for that positive attitude. I think that portion of my parents always having been there to say, you know what, you can do this, you can run, don't worry, Amonangu, you can do it. If there's a play, they were there. They taught me without knowing that they were teaching me directly. They taught me to not necessarily take no for an answer, to not take that negative position. So I've always known in a way or in a sense that I can win. It might not necessarily be that which I had planned on it, but it will be a step towards something that is as close to, and it would be a better portion for what I need. So meeting different people, even when I think the week before we started uni, again, I was looking for a church. At that time, I was going to Seventh-day Adventist, and I was looking for a church. And we were in the Japanese gardens behind the university, and there's a family of about 6 white people who are walking towards us. And they had this one black man, and I'm saying black man, he was dark. Now, I'm a darkie, but this man was dark. And he had tribal scarification marks on his whole face. And he looked so scary. His eyes were like a yellow brown, but, he was just so serious. And he just, when he was walking, I could feel this man, like as he was coming towards us. And my little heart is just beating to make way, Anyway, they're walking towards us. And they stopped us and they're like, oh, how are you? But it was the white family that was talking to us. Oh, how are you? Where are you from? And we're like, oh, we're from Zimbabwe, Chichi. And then I was quiet sort of mode most of the time. And this guy's just staring at me. I was not comfortable. I really was not comfortable. Anyway, we talked about everything else under the sun. And then they were like, have a great day. And then he looked at me like with a question, but he didn't say anything. And I was like, but why is this man looking at me like that? So we crossed paths. They went where they were going. We carried on. I think about 5-10 steps, I turned around and I said, sorry, I don't know if you guys can help me, but please can you direct me to the nearest Seventh-day Adventist church? That very black, dark man's face cracked in two with the most beautiful smile. And he says, I'm a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. That family was also pastors. And they're like, we can come and pick you up tomorrow to take you to church. And here I was. Imagine that fear that sometimes holds people back. You know, when you're sitting at something and looking at a situation and you hesitate to speak, to do, to go, to whatever, because you're just looking at what you're faced with. And then you just freeze. Yeah, that whole, you know, fear flight, whatever. And I was just like, had I not said a word, I would have just carried on, you know. And these guys took me around to all the Seventh-day Adventist churches that were around in the area till I managed to settle. And then again, like a lot of things in life, they just disappeared. And I found another church which I was happier with. And I, you know, blended with another family. And a lot of life happened. From the time that I was there, I think I got back to Zimbabwe when I was in my 30s, you know. So that's a lot of years growing up without your family, without your parents. There's a lot of change that happened in there. There's moments, I think, where I had less faith than, you know, than I can say even to this day, because things happened and it changed me. There were experiences that really were quite harrowing, some that I still haven't said anything to my mom. But the journey in its own self, when I think about it, there was always that you're not alone. You know, you may think you are, but you're not alone. And always don't stop. Keep going. It seems dark, but get through the storm. Don't stay in the storm. And that is where I would literally say, you know, my faith element has always been there. It might not have been coming in ringing as faith, but it was always there. So, yeah.
And from then coming, because, yeah, I know your story, like now, oh my God, I wanted to cry. When you're there, you're in Australia, you're studying finance, how did you then get into
real estate?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, it's just, yeah, how?
So, yeah, another one of those. It will literally sound like I've had a doom and gloom situation. It actually isn't. But at 23, when I did start in university, one thing that I had said to myself is there's certain things that I grew up with that I want to maintain, at least for just that little bit of stability. So here in Zim, we are academic, yes, but, you know, the schools that I went through to were very good with offering more extracurricular activities. So I maintained my drama activities. I maintained my sport. And the one that I really mainly was glued into was hockey. I ended up playing hockey for the university that I was studying at.
Oh, I used to play hockey for UCT as well.
Oh, really? You see now. So it was really great because it led me to a different network. I wouldn't call it networks. I didn't think it was networking. But the hockey players that I was playing with, you know, they were always like, oh, there's something happening. My dad runs an accounting firm. Oh, we need more of these kind of people. So I was actually getting work experience that was relatable to my degree. I didn't do strawberry picking. I didn't, you know, work a lot of casual jobs. I did do hospitality. I was cleaning rooms for a period of time. I was serving and waitressing. So I've got that experience. But earlier on, I managed to get a work experience that was related to what I was studying. So by the time that I graduated or I finished with university, I had my degree plus work experience. So that definitely puts you in a different position to a lot of other people. And I managed to get a job that was great. And I just started working. Now, by the time I'm 23, next thing that I get is I got retrenched just as I thought my career was starting to take off. And I was not mature enough to understand retrenchment is not a you problem. There's something wrong with the company kind of situation. I took it personally. I really, really took it personally. It knocked me for 6, to be honest. And I thought, this is it. So that means that I'm a failure. I'm not good at what I do, etc. And for 4 months, I didn't work. I refused to do anything work-wise. But my human resource and career advisor was like, you should go to this interview for this particular company. And I'm fairly outspoken, especially when I feel like I'm being pinned. Mm-hmm. That's where like the big bag comes up, and I will defend myself. Most of the time, gentle, but I say what I need to say. Anyway, I get into this boardroom, and there's this one old lady. She's sitting in this massive, massive table, and she looks way into her 80s. And she's sitting there, and like, as I'm sitting down, she's like, I've looked at your CV. You do not have the experience that we require, and this. And I'm like, so why did you call me? And she's like, oh, but we were looking for people. We see that you've got the accounting. Then I was like, again, why did you call me? Now I'm thinking that is usually not what happens in an interview. You're trying to endear yourself to these people, you know, and I am already like,
frustrated.
Don't do that to me, because I've just been kicked off a job and now I must in and whatever. Yeah. So I literally had my backup, and I'm like, let's defend this Karen who's battered and bruised. Like no one else is fighting for her. We had a full-on argument for 30 minutes. And then I was just like, I don't need to take this. Picked up my bag and I walked out. And then I tried to call my career guy, and his phone is busy. And when he eventually got back to me, I yelled. I was like, why would you do that? You know that I'm still going through what I'm going through, and this, blah, blah, blah. Then he said, are you finished? And I was like, yes. He said, she wants you to start on Monday morning, 7:30. Yeah. I was like, what? He's like, she wants you to start Monday morning, 7:30. I was like, stuck with. And he's like, the job, you got the job. And I was like, how? Like we didn't do anything that is the usual typical, let's get ourselves ready for, you know, onboarding or whatever. We just went at each other, you know. Monday, a completely different me pitches up at work. I am demure. I am a little kitty cat. I am, good morning, ma'am. How are you? She looks me up. She looks me down. She just turns around, and I'm just like, what is this? Anyway, for a month, I was working diligently, keeping an eye, staying out of, you know, her way and keeping my nose clean. Then she just pitches at my distance. She says, I want to go for lunch with you. And I said, okay. Then she's like, look, this is supposed to be a 3-month contract, but I'm going to offer you a full-time position. I was like, what? Then she says, that's cool. I'm telling you, it had nothing to do with me, I don't think. And she's like, look, we've enjoyed how you've been working. You're very hard. But this is the Zimbabwean in you, and you're a foreigner. No, you work hard. You know, you're really putting in the hours. And it was mainly accounting, which again was related to my degree. But I was working for a body corporate company, which managed buildings and stuff and properties. So that is where my love for property actually started. But it was from seeing the financial end of it first, before I actually got to see the brickwork and all the other stuff that happens behind the scenes. And as the period of time with the company actually started to extend, I started to ask for a bit more experience out of office. So I was talking to them and I said, I need to go out and I need to have a bit more experience. And they turned around and they're like, yes, go on to sites and see. And that's when I started to see how buildings start from nothing and they become what we live, work, play, and do a whole lot of stuff in. So, yeah, that's where real estate love actually began.
Wow. And with that, then coming home, how did like the real estate space in Australia and in Zim kind of like, what was so jarring when you first came home, and what has made you, I mean, you're one person when you talk about, I mean, the first time when we're talking about real estate, I mean, the passion that you talk about real estate, and I'm like looking at Zim and I'm like, but how can you be so passionate about, tell me about like that difference, and then how you have brought that same energy and love into the real estate space in Zim, and how people can look at it.
Okay, so by that little bit of experience that I had, and the age that I was, because of that experience, and it's a different country, of course, but I'm now starting to see that I can afford to buy a property. I'm getting people coming up and offering me mortgages, and I'm like, no, man, but I'm not married. I don't have anyone around. Why should I want to buy a property? You know, the mindset of where we were or where I was. Everybody else was always thinking of that security, but it was always very centered on self. It wasn't waiting for a period of time to achieve anything. So I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. You know what? If I can get a property, I will get a property. If I can do this, I will do that. And just seeing that I could do it, you know. A lot of the times we wait for so many things to fall into place before we actually do it. And I think, you know, a lot of the times the people that are more affected are women. Sadly. Coming back to Zimbabwe, what I was seeing was very different. Is from 2001, when I was still in Australia, we were getting letters in the mail with the government saying, convert so many things within your home so that you're more sustainable for solar, for gas, and all of these various things. And I'm seeing that even now in 2025, 24, it's not as ubiquitous as it should be. We should have all this other infrastructure in place that will make our lives easier. So there's a lot that we have to cover in terms of the gap. And 25 years is a long time, So the thing is, I feel like I've lived two lives. I've lived in a country where some of these things were now common, and I'm back here in Zimbabwe, and some of these things we're still trying to figure out how to integrate them with life. And that makes it kind of exciting, because you're thinking, how can you make some form of change? I may not be able to do it for the entire country, but that little portion that I'm in, I did have a lot more experience outside of Australia regarding real estate and seeing things that happened in Dubai, in the UK, that happened in New Zealand. And when the decision came to come home, it was not a well-planned or well-thought-out thing. It was just, I want to go home. I really felt like I just need to come home. Jumped on the flight and I came back. I had no plan, I had no job, but I fell into real estate, but in a different side, not on the bodies corporate or the development side. I was now selling and renting, etc., working for another company. And but then it also then blossomed into this thing of, I want to own something of myself for myself. And that's something I wanted to be a part of, bringing that which I actually experienced before into my day-to-day life. Because if I've lived it before, then I should be living it now again. And if I've lived it before and enjoyed it, someone else has probably lived it and enjoyed it. And they're going to be ready for it as well. So, yes, passionately, I'm seeking to change as many lives as I can and to teach many more people and to have other people enjoy real estate and property, whether it's owning or investing or building or even demolitions, depending on what it is. But just being a part of the entire industry. I will definitely advocate for that continually.
Wow. When you look at your life, and you've had such a vast, experience, lived so many different lives, what would your 5 biggest life lessons be?
One of my lessons is never stop learning. I think the moment that you stop learning, I feel for me personally, you cease to exist, because the life that we're living now, who would have ever thought, right? We always used to see this, we watch this in ZBC News, whatever, and we never would have thought that, situations such as podcasts would be something that becomes commonplace, right? But we learned it because the world changed. So I'm just like, if ever I limit myself into what I can know, you just stop. You just stop at where it is. It's not necessarily a physical death, but it's literally a death on life, in that you cannot experience more because you don't know what you don't know. And then also similarly on limitations, a life lesson that I was taught by the lady who introduced me to fine and country real estate. She said to me, don't ever limit yourself because don't make your decision based on too much money or too little money. If you have too much money, sometimes you just throw money at the problem. And it might cover a lot of stuff, and you don't take time to really try to figure out what's broken. You just throw money at it. If you have too little money, you will never get to experience or get to learn or, get to find out anything else, because you'd have said, I don't have the money, so I can't do it. Rather try to figure out how to bring the too much and the not at all together, even if it's not going to be just you. Find out how you can work with others to be able to get that best situation to actually come out as a result. Don't stop moving. Just don't stop in that situation where you are in, thinking that because things aren't going the way that you really want them to go, if you don't talk about it, if you don't try to figure out something, it will literally keep you there. And the mind is, I think, the life for everybody. And if you're in that particular moment whereby you're stuck in a space, that's it. Try to find joy and gratitude in the big and the little things every single day. Just opening up my eyes every single morning is a huge thing. It's a fight and a battle that I have not even done anything, but it's already won for me every single morning. And I think probably the fifth one. Oh, wow. The fifth one, Fall in Love Daily. And Fall in Love Daily is linked to the whole gratitude thing, but love life, love others, love self. I think those are like 5.
Wow, that's so powerful. So I still have so many questions and things that I just wanted to just unpack, but we're running out of time. So I want to ask you a few fun questions.
Sure.
But I think you're going to need to come back so that we can continue with the really unpack the real estate part of it,
Sure.
Especially in Zim. So, what's your favorite color and why?
Oh, wow. Color. Oh, red.
Oh, no, red.
Yes. I think it's such a powerful color. It obviously pops, but it's a powerful color that is a statement color. And I like to call myself the red-lipped realtor. So red is my favorite color. Like I think it's just a powerful pick-me-up kind of energy. It just infuses certain things to me personally. Yeah.
Oh, red as well. Yeah. And your favorite animal?
The lion.
Ooh, nice. Why the lion?
The lion, because I'm a Leo. So, August babies, we love that. But it's, again, I think it's about, sure, I've got an issue with power. And it's just a powerful beast. And, I've seen them in the wild, and, you just how they're being created, and they're also beautiful to look at them, and just the sound. And when you're in nature and you're thinking this thing sounds like it's really close by, but the sound travels for kilometers. And but no, I love the lion. Plain and simple. There's so much more to that, but I definitely love the lion.
One book that you've read that made an impact on your life?
The Art of War. I'm not a warring person, but The Art of War really impacted me in terms of not undermining strategy. And when you really start to read more, you'll also get to see in life that other people are moving chess pieces around you and you are just a pawn. So either be a more credible player on the board, or life will just be moved all around you and you will have no control of how things are going. So The Art of War was such an impactful book for me because it also taught me certain things whereby you might think that certain presentations might be weakness. I mean, there's one part in the book where it talks about retreating to the hills.
Yeah.
So when you're seeing that and you're thinking, okay, well, when a person is retreating into the hills, that means that's retreat, right? But whereby it's them going back to get a better vantage point. And especially if that was their hill, and they're retreating, they know where all the caves are. They know where all the strategic positions are, but they can see you. You can't see them. So being on a different vantage point gives you that opportunity to see the entire table in front of you as to what do I eat first, or where do I go? How do I hide, or how do I attack? So sometimes retreat is not necessarily a show of weakness, but it definitely can be a position of strength.
Love that. I love that. Yeah. One movie that's made a one movie that you loved, your all-time favorite movie.
I'm going to tell my age. One all-time movie. I've got quite a few. But I think as I was in school, it was Coach Carter. Again, that whole team camaraderie thing, but showing people in different backgrounds. And I think that was very relatable. And I've got passion for children or the youth. And, I see how we have a responsibility into how we can assist them become better people. And Coach Carter was a movie which an adult took that weight of wanting to positively shape children who were otherwise going to be in worse off situations had he not intervened. And, that whole roll-on, knock-on effect of how many lives are changed just by you changing that one.
Wow.
That movie really impacted me very, very positively.
Wow, I love that. I really love that. How do you relax after a hard day's work?
Sleep.
You sleep?
I have got this crazy thing. If I'm very, very relaxed, to be honest, so if I've had a really, I can just sit and sleep. I mean, if we were not talking, I could just sit here. If you left me alone for like 2-3 minutes, you'll come back and like, Karen, Alpha. I can sleep anyway. Speaker right here, whatever. I sleep. But most of the times it's food. So that's food and wine with my friends and reading, driving. Actually, I love to drive, so I like to travel. But it's mostly social things that I do enjoy. Yeah.
If this was your last day and you were about to transcend,
Yes.
what is the one thing that you'd say, you know what, God, I'm ready to come because I've done what?
Wow, Nyenga, that's a big one. True, that's a huge one. What have I done? I think I've stood in the truth and the purpose that I feel I was shaped for. Because I do try to live as authentically as I can. So when I present myself to you, you're meeting Karen. You're meeting Karen at work. You're meeting Karen at church. You're meeting Karen in the streets. I'm not afraid to say that which I do stand firm in and that which I believe. So I think I'll be like, God, I think I really did serve my purpose. And I have impacted those people that I've met to date. So at that particular point in time, I'll just leave it to him.
Absolutely. That's nice. We've packed our bags.
Yes.
We're on our way to the airport. Where are we flying off to?
We're going to Cabo.
Ooh, you're the first person who's ever mentioned Cabo. No one said I was put about Cabo. No.
I want to party. I really, really want to party. I really think that, sometimes it's just good to just let loose and enjoy yourself. So yes, I see it and I hear everybody saying, oh, we're going to Cabo, we're going to Cabo. Definitely if we're just going to do a random trip, yes, that'll be that. But if it were something whereby it's not so random and it's a planned one, really, really well planned, we'll be going to Lake Como. I want to go there. I want to, enjoy that high-end life. I want to see the things and, just be around luxury. Just, wow. Definitely we're doing that.
I love that. I love that. So just to close us off, what's one thing that you'd want to say to our viewers as they're going into the new week?
As you're going into the new week, embrace situations that you're going to be faced with. Don't try to run away. I think communication is very important. So figure out even how you speak to yourself before you start to speak to others. That's the best conversation you ever can have, because whatever you're going through, even if it's an amazing opportunity, you can talk yourself into it or you can talk yourself out of it. So communicate with yourself first. Pray. Make sure that you are really well backed up. And just be within the situation and exist for that. And journal if you can. I am good at verbal journals now. I've seen that. I'm not good at writing. I'm better at recording. So journal if you can, because then at least it helps you to reflect back and see where you were to, where you started off to where you will be at the end.
Absolutely. It's been amazing having you, Karen. I wish we could just go on and on and on.
We can.
Because I still have so many things that I just want to unpack, but we're going to have to do another session.
No,
but Karen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thanks. Yeah.
And thank you so much for opening up, for sharing those nuggets with us, for our viewers.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't wait for our next one.
It's been awesome. It really has been awesome. Like, you've been an amazing hostess. So can't wait to come back again.
Thanks, Karen. So everyone, have a fantastic week. Remember what Karen said. Remember to reflect. Remember to pray. And remember to love yourself. Love others around you. Have a fantastic week. I'll see you next week. Bye.